Welcome to our Wellness Wednesday Health Show. I'm your host, Dr. Kala Hewlett from the Back Pain and Joint Center of Texas. And today I am very excited to be on location with a very important topic. Now, this is probably one of the most misunderstood and neglected areas when it comes to our health. It's something that we just don't even think about or talk about when we're looking at different health conditions, but this really is the most important aspect to address in pretty much any health condition. And so today I'm on location with April from Align Theta Center to talk about the most important 6 inches, which is in between our ears. And so, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hewlett. I'm happy to be here.
Well, thanks for the time. And we're going to talk about what's behind us in just a moment. But what is Align Theta Center?
Well, Align Theta Center is bringing the ThetaPod technology to our community. We have been amazed with the results that we're seeing, and as soon as we learned about that technology, we're like, how fast can we get it here?
And when you reference technology, and let's even just break down the name, Align Theta Center. So
Yes.
What do those things mean?
So we actually put a lot of thought into our name when we were opening, and Align we chose because we feel like that really encapsulates what we're doing here and helping people line up their health and their life with what they want it to be. And theta is the state of deep relaxation just before we fall asleep. And so that's what we specialize in here. The ThetaPod is forced relaxation. And so in the theta state, our brain is naturally creating new neural pathways. So that's what we specialize in.
I love that name, right? Because as a chiropractor by training, I'm all about alignment and harmony. And what I've learned over the years for any doctor, any discipline, any healthcare professional, it's all about bringing things into alignment and harmony. And when things are out of alignment, that's when we have different symptoms or diseases, whether it's high blood pressure, high cholesterol, acid reflux, pain, et cetera, depression, insomnia. All these things are symptoms of being out of alignment. And so I really love that term, align, and then theta, meaning, hey, let's address what's happening up here to put the body in better balance and harmony. So how did you even come to be here as far as opening this business and interested in this field?
Well, it's a very personal journey. I came into the field as a mental health advocate. I became a certified professional coach because of my own journey with my family's mental health. My son was diagnosed with PTSD at age 14.
Wow.
And so I started learning everything I could about it. And we learned so much the hard way.
Now, without revealing too much or going into something that you're not ready to talk about, was it a traumatic experience that he had went through?
It was,
Okay.
yes.
So young age, he went through a traumatic experience, and now as a teenager, he had PTSD.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and what we found was every program for PTSD was only for veterans. And everyone thought PTSD only affected veterans. And so the more we looked for help, the more difficult it felt of feeling like we were the only ones going through this. And on our journey, we met so many other people who are struggling with PTSD from a variety of different things. And so I set out to start a nonprofit for PTSD. And on that journey, I learned about the ThetaPod. And so it was in the middle of the pandemic shutdown in March of 2020 that a friend said, hey, I know a veteran who's starting a nonprofit for PTSD in Utah. Let me connect you on Facebook. And I just sent him 2 simple questions and asked, what's been helpful with your PTSD and what is it that you're doing with your nonprofit? And he sent me the link to the ThetaPod. He said he never felt better than when he did his sessions, but as a veteran on disability, he couldn't afford it.
Got it. And this is still start with the effort to help your son.
Yes.
Very cool. Now with your son, has he been in the pod?
He has done the pod. My son is doing very well now in managing his PTSD and his symptoms. And he has done different sessions throughout. Mostly insomnia is the thing that's been most helpful for him.
Okay, that is really neat. That is really neat. And here, like I said, in the middle of when the world shut down, you had something inside you that said, hey, I'm not shutting down. I'm actually going to open something, because I think people had more stress in their lives over the last almost 2 years now than ever before, just because of everything that was associated with COVID-19 and just the domino effect it had on us as a society.
Definitely. The pandemic started a mental health epidemic, and I was leading a support group for teens with mental health issues and their parents at the time. And we lost one of our teens in April of 2020, a month before his high school graduation, to suicide. And I knew exactly why. He was having panic attacks all day and all night. They would come out of nowhere. And when I learned about this, I thought, I think this could have helped.
Gosh, that is heartbreaking. You know, there was the time, and this was last year, 2020, when so many things were shut down, where in Montgomery County, we take care of a lot of law enforcement, our clinic, there was more suicides than COVID-19 deaths for an extended period of time. And every mental health professional that I know has shared just what you did, said right now, is we have this epidemic where mental health and these challenges are just increasingly at a pace never seen before. So I love that you have a way here to help that. You know, going back to that theta, just from a healthcare perspective, you know, I look at two, I guess, common places the body operates in. One's we call the stress response, or the sympathetic response, or the other one's the parasympathetic. And I always tell people you can't heal when your body's in a state of stress. It's a much slower, dragged out process, but you can't have your foot on the gas pedal and the brake at the same time. And so many of us have heard of that fight or flight response, like the stress response when we see a snake, or if we're walking in the woods and a bear comes up, right? We get that stress response, right? And our body starts, our heart rate increases and our palms start sweating, and our body can't think rationally. It can't function rationally. It's just in pure survival mode at that time. Versus when we're in rest and relaxation mode, when we're maybe with family or friends and we're just hanging out and having a good time. Two different systems we operate in. But these post-traumatic stress or other things that happen, it's almost like someone's stuck in that sympathetic state and they can't function. They can't have a healthy relationship. They can't sleep. They can't do a lot of things. And the body just from a physiological and psychological standpoint is just stuck there. Is that what you found as well?
Yes.
And so how does this help break where they're at and put them into better alignment mentally?
Well, the great thing about the Theta Pod is that in 28 days it can create new neural pathways. So the old ones create a structure in the brain, it's always there, but creating those new neural pathways allows them to bypass the old ones so that they can create new healthy thinking patterns. So it's kind of a jump start towards giving them a fresh start in life.
Like, isn't that so amazing? As humans, we can do that. It's called neuroplasticity, where we can actually create new neural pathways. It's like if we're in the forest and we're stuck and we're lost, we can forge away and make a new path to get to a location. Like, being human and alive is just a miracle in itself. So those new neural pathways in 28 days can be changed.
Yes,
and
it
created.
creates a permanent change in the brain.
Okay, and how does it do that?
Well, there's 4 different modalities that combine to induce the theta state. It takes 3 minutes to get into the theta state, and the theta state is a state of deep relaxation just before we fall asleep. So creating new neural pathways is what our brain naturally does in the theta state. But spending this extra time in it speeds up that process. What might otherwise take months and years and require a lot of effort to change your thought process, this is a passive therapy. And so it combines light therapy with binaural tones, the vestibular motion, the entire pod spins for the 30 minutes.
So we have light therapy, sound therapy, right? Motion therapy,
Yeah,
per se.
and then the cranial electrotherapy stimulation, the CES ear clips. So a gentle electric current that helps stimulate the brain.
There's multiple centers of integration, and what a lot of people don't realize, and I didn't realize this till years back when I was learning, the brain is primarily a sensory organ. The majority of the brain is a sensory organ. There's an output portion as well that controls motions and movements and things that we do, but the majority of the brain is a sensory organ. And so you're tapping into the sight, right? Stimulating eyes. You're tapping into sound, which feeds directly into the brain. You're tapping into motion, which feeds directly into the brain. That's what lets us know where we're at. And if you've ever been on a roller coaster, you feel goofy because when you lose gravity, that's one less sensation feeding into your brain. That's why some people kind of get that queasy feeling because their brain's not sure. And then you're also stimulating the brain through different points in the ear, auricular therapy. That is so cool. That is so cool. And how long do the therapy sessions last?
It's 30 minutes. So one 30-minute session can run 3 protocols. Custom frequency sends 120,000 frequencies that we have in our body, and your brain picks up on whatever it's deficient in. So we do everyone on custom frequency.
Okay.
And then we have...
Is that kind of like, in my mind, like a general reset?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we call it a total brain reset.
I love it. Okay.
And then there's a wide range of different emotional things, from anxiety, PTSD, depression, different types of depression, circumstantial depression, or depression from a mood that comes and you don't even know why you're feeling that way.
So when someone comes in here, if they're like, hey, this is my primary concern, I struggle with depression or struggling with insomnia, then there's different protocols that are pre-programmed that will send different sensations of stimulating parts of the brain, different sounds, so forth, based on that condition. They have found these are parts of the brain that need to be stimulated. Is that right?
Yes.
How brilliant.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
It targets that part of the brain to create
Okay.
the change for the specific symptoms.
This is one of the cool things about living in 2021, almost 2022. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So what are some of the big, I guess, pre-programmed ones that you've seen some really great results with?
Number one would be insomnia. We had no idea how many people weren't sleeping till we opened. And it's something about 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
3:30, I call it the witching hour. That's when everybody's waking up and can't go back to sleep, or if they have trouble shutting their mind down to go to sleep at night. So we've had 4 times over the past year someone come in and do their very first trial and say they slept for the first time in months. When could they come back?
That is huge. From just in overall health, sleep is one of the most neglected areas.
Yeah.
Where that's the domino. Years back, early in my career, I remember hearing from an oncologist, and he was asked a question on stage: if there was one piece of advice, one recommendation to help reduce the risk of cancer, what would it be? And out of everything he could have said, he said the number one thing to reduce your risk of cancer was to get adequate night's rest consistently.
Yeah.
The number one thing.
We definitely see that with mental health. All mental health conditions are exaggerated with a lack of sleep. So that's the first thing I ask people is, how are you sleeping?
Okay.
So insomnia is very popular. Reduced stress is probably our second most popular protocol. Again, stress is something that affects everyone.
The best way I can describe that too is if your mind's always going. Like if you're somewhere but you're not there. Like some people I've talked to, they're physically, like I went to a holiday party and they're not able to enjoy it because they're talking to people, but they're so preoccupied with other things on their mind that are consuming, or they're worried about or concerned about, whether it's a perceived stress or real stress, that they just can't really enjoy life at all because they're always just thinking and worrying and concerned. And all that happens up here.
Right, which leads us to anxiety. Anxiety is another one of our highly sought after protocols. And then PTSD is also very, I hate to use the word popular, but it's kind of our specialty because a lot of people have a hard time talking about their trauma. And even if they go to therapy for years, they're still struggling to overcome the effects of trauma. And that was our situation, you know. It had been 10 years of therapy and still felt like that was something that was coming with us everywhere we went.
What's really cool, and therapy definitely has its place, as in so many other treatments do, but this is addressing, it's like resetting the brain.
Yes.
Creating those new neural pathways. So it's
Well, and it can calm the brain in a way. We work with a lot of local therapists, and I refer people to therapists all the time. And so it can calm the brain enough that people can talk about their trauma and move past those things that otherwise they may have had a block, not allowing them to do so.
That is so cool. And I know from looking at some of the machine earlier before we hit go on here, there's several other things as well that can help with.
Yes, addictions of all kinds. Whether it's a gaming addiction or alcohol or
Overeating addiction?
Yes.
Okay. Smoking addiction?
Yes.
Okay. And then you mentioned alcohol and drugs and other ones.
Right.
Okay. This is just really, really neat. And I'm just so impressed because, again, this is something I'm fascinated with, something that I think as humans we know what happens, what we think about plays an important role. It's just, gosh, when I was growing up, it was culturally we didn't talk about that.
Right.
Like we didn't talk about it. It was just you're weak-minded, right? That's what we said in the 80s and 90s, right? They're just weak. Well, no, someone's not weak. They just need their brain to be, what do you say, retrained or reset?
Yes.
just
Yeah.
like a muscle or anything else. So for our audience today, if someone's wanting to connect with you, and they've said, gosh, this really resonates with me and I want to come in, where are we located at right now? How do they connect with you?
So we are in Magnolia Crossing off of Egypt Lane, just on the border of the Woodlands and Magnolia. And alignthetacenter.com is our website, and it has all of our contact information on there. So that would be the best location to be able to connect with us. It has our phone number and our email and our location and everything.
Okay, awesome. Well, we'll definitely put links to everything. And if someone connects with you, what's the first step after they call you or email you?
Well, I'm going to give them two options. One is we can schedule a Zoom call where they can just ask all their questions and see the Theta Pod, and I can kind of go through and see what it is that they're looking for help with. Or they can schedule and come in for their first session where we do a consultation and sit down and talk just like this and just talk about what is it that you're interested in, what is it that you're looking for help with. I just ask very simple questions. I just want to hear people's story. And the main question is, what are your symptoms you're looking for help with? You don't have to have a diagnosis for the Theta Pod, which I love because a lot of people don't want to seek out a mental health diagnosis necessarily. And then on a scale of 1 to 10, how much is it affecting your daily life? And that helps us guide how many times people would need to come or what the best protocol would be for them.
Okay, I love all that. Like, I know I've said it before, but this is really cool. Years back, I had my brain mapped, and I have a home unit that I spent a significant amount of money on, that for many years I would utilize in the morning. And I still use it occasionally. I need to utilize it more, and after today's conversation, I'm definitely going to utilize it more, but tapping into some of these different things, but it's not as complete as this. It's more just tapping into stimulating the eyes and the ear therapy, but this seems like a very complete way to retrain the brain, and I'm just really excited that this is here now within the Houston and Montgomery County area, that we have access to it.
And it's such a relaxing experience. We see people visibly leaving here happier than they came in.
Okay, love it, love it. April, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for following what would almost say is like a calling of your heart, where you pursued this in the middle of 2020 when the world was saying don't move. You moved, you took action, you opened up this amazing center, and you're helping and changing lives. So thank you.
Thank you.
As always, we wish you guys the absolute best in health and wellness. We wish you guys a very, very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and the best in 2022. We're going to have some amazing shows coming up for you, as there is just a wealth of health and wellness industries and business and passionate people that are here in Montgomery County, and we're going to connect you with all those. Until then, y'all be well.